Monday, September 8th, 2025, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, today we're going to look at an article from almost 20 years ago. I'm going to keep you in suspense to whom the author is, but it's to do with fiat currencies and the fact that they're all sinking. Yes, that was warned about back in 2006, and it's getting worse. And what do I mean by that? Well, gold and silver prices are accelerating massively. If you think about gold and silver in the last 25 years, they've gone up on average about 10%. But in the last 18 months, they've gone from just around $2,000, even below $2,000, to almost $3,600 now, or we are, very near there. We've gone up more than 50%, which is worrying. Of course, if you've been doing what I've been suggesting, and it's not advised, if you've been stacking gold and silver, and a lot of you have since the beginning of this channel 10 years ago, because I always spoke about fiat currencies and the fact that they would continue to sink. It's not rocket science. It's not that I had a crystal ball or have a crystal ball. It's just that if you've learned or studied the monetary system outside universities, of course, you will know that this system is not long in the tooth. It doesn't have long on this planet. And unfortunately, that's going to hurt billions of people, really. And hopefully, you will have been able to protect yourself somewhat financially. Yes, by stacking. Yes, this says get stacked at Maneco 64. I'd like to thank Karen for building the merchandise store. There's a link below in the description if you're interested in one of these. This is actually a nice golf shirt, Adidas, for the channel. There's other products there as well, and a lot of them have Rudy on it. That was Karen's idea, to make it a Rudy collection. It's a bit of fun. And before we look at this article from almost 20 years ago, I'd like to thank all of you. No matter how long you've been subscribed and been following me, I really appreciate it. And I hope I have been of help for some people, because that's what I'm trying to do here, help people understand the fraudulent nature of our, well, it's not even a monetary system because we don't really use real money anymore. But you can bet that the people in charge are not there to look after your interests, at least financial interests. And they're going to make sure that you are left holding the bag of fiat currency that will become, it's becoming more worthless as the days go by. And that's why things are so topsy-turvy, economically, socially, financially, geopolitically. And before we move on to the article, I'd just like to read a really nice comment from one of you who supports the channel on Patreon. And how does that work, Patreon? Well, you can, you only need to give like $1 a month and have access to my Patreon and send me private messages and I'll reply. Yes, there's an email for the channel, but that's more for business inquiries. A lot of you use that to send me messages. But I can't do that. I can't keep track of all of it. So the best place is Patreon. But this is from, I'm not going to say the person's name. This is what he said. Hey, Mario, if I had not listened to you about gold, silver, and gold miners, I would just have paper fiat currency. Also, listening to you and holding physical gold and silver has prevented me from shorting the market. It has been a slow, steady, and at times frustrating financial journey. Yes, I've been on this journey, the sound money journey, since '02, and I can attest to that. But you were always there to reassure me that I was on the right track. Perhaps true wealth, time, and real money, gold and silver, makes us more financially stable. Well, I agree. And you become more respectful of what wealth really is, that it's just a reflection of what you can do for the rest of society, right? In terms of creating value, and also in terms of consuming and spending and saving, right? You need to make sure that you consume less than you take in. That's all that it is about. That's it. And gold and silver, of course, are really good ways to store those savings. He says at the end, I am far more frugal and I prioritize my health, fitness, mental, and spiritual ability above all else. And I have to say, I've been doing the same in the last 10, 15 years. I'm one person who listened to you, so I'm going to stop right here, and we'll jump right to the article. I'm going to put a link to this article in the description. It's so old that it's in the Wayback Machine. So I used to keep a blog while I was still working in the city as a futures and options broker for about 2 years, I think from '06 to '08. It was called forsoundmoney.com. And yes, I wrote this article back on 18th of December 2006. It's entitled, They Are All Sinking. So let's go through it, because I went through it this morning and I found it, I'm not being big-headed, but I thought this is really clear and straightforward. And I have to tell you, in almost 20 years, nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed, of course, is that the world fiscal, monetary, debt, government, society is going even more, unfortunately, down the wrong path. And of course, the fiat currencies, they've continued to sink, and they're almost at the bottom. So let's go through this. There has been a great deal of speculation over the last few years over when or whether the dollar will crash and burn. One thing many analysts, economists, and speculators have not taken into account is the fact that all other currencies on the planet are derived from the dollar. One has to go back to July 1944 to understand the nature of our present monetary system. That was when the major Allied nations gathered at the Mount Washington Hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, to draw up a new financial architecture that would become the new backbone of commerce and trade for the Allied nations after the end of World War II. The United States held over 50% of official gold reserves in the world at the time. And with that in mind, the dollar was formally made into the reserve currency for Western countries. It was decided that for every $35 foreign central banks held, they could receive 1 troy ounce of fine gold in exchange for it. Concurrently, fixed exchange rates between the US dollar and the Allied countries' currencies were decided upon. As one can see, gold was at the base of this monetary system, and the exchange rates between the dollar and the other currencies were just a derivative of this system. The Bretton Woods system ran smoothly up until the mid 1960s, but the Vietnam War and the welfare state started to weigh on the system as Western governments thought they could spend money on guns and butter, and that somehow in the long term things would get better. Yeah, reminds me of the big beautiful bill. Wow, we got to spend and borrow before things get better, right? So as usual, governmental profligacy wrecked a monetary system with gold as an anchor, like the Bretton Woods system, stood in the way of the welfare state, and politicians didn't want to do away with the status quo. And I can tell you they're going to fight tooth and nail for the welfare state and their power. And that's why we're going down. And by we, I mean all fiat currencies are going down. By 1971, the US government had printed too much money to pay for the Vietnam War and Lyndon Johnson's Great Society. And I would argue also the New Deal that was accumulating from the 30s. These new dollars being printed were not being backed by a corresponding amount of gold, $35 per troy ounce. It's really simple. And that's why the gold price is such an important barometer of monetary health. Of course, most people think gold is just a risky commodity because they went to Harvard, Yale, London School of Economics, Oxford, where they don't teach you that. And as a result, foreign US creditors, foreign central banks, were demanding payment in gold, and this situation led to an unsustainable situation which could have led to a run on the US Treasury. So on August 15th, 1971, President Richard Nixon shut the bank. That's a term I use. Yeah, he closed the bank. And as a result, closed the gold window, which meant foreign central banks and monetary authorities could no longer redeem their US dollar notes into gold at a fixed price, of course. And it's been temporary ever since. The bank's been shut. This act by President Nixon also led to the breakdown of the Bretton Woods system. As the anchor of the system, gold was abandoned. Well, I think it's coming back. It will have to come back. There's no other alternative. And I think a lot of central banks see the writing on the wall, especially the non-Western ones, unfortunately. With the end of the Bretton Woods system also came the end of the fixed rate monetary system. And as a result, the global monetary system, for the first time in modern times or history, had no standard of value for which to base itself on. So, since 1971, the dollar and the rest of the world's currencies have been sinking and gold has been rising. The purchasing power of the dollar and its fellow fiat currencies have also been steadily sinking since 1971. From 71 to 1980, the fiat currencies of the world sunk very quickly and gold rose very fast. And the only way to save the fiat system was to allow short-term dollar rates to spike into the 20% level. Yes, Paul Volcker did that in 1980-81. This high interest rate scenario of 1980 saved the dollar, and as a result, all other fiat currencies. Gold, on the other hand, had risen in terms of dollars from 35 in 1971 to 875 in January of 1980, and then started sinking. Yeah, gold sank for the next 21 years as confidence in the fiat money system remained in place. But the only way they were able to do that is to let rates go into double digits. Of course, the national debt at the time, US government debt, was only about 35% of GDP. I can't see central banks allowing rates to go to double digits or allowing rates to be set in the free market. It's undoable, and that's why they're going to continue to inflate. Since 2001, the trend has changed, and gold has been rising, and the dollar and all the other major fiat currencies have started sinking, just like back in the 1970s. So I made a list here of the major currencies and the gold's performance versus these currencies since 2000, the 2001 bottom. Some people think the bottom was 99, but they're very similar levels. But anyway, US dollar, the 2001 low was 254. At the time I wrote the article, it was $618. Yes, and there were a lot of people at the time, friends, family members, colleagues, who, when talking about gold, when I was telling them about gold, they would say, "Don't you think it's too expensive, though?" You know, it was 618, and it's still the same thing today. Yes, it is expensive, and is going to get even more expensive going forward. I think, unfortunately, we're going to get to the point where our currencies won't be able to buy any gold, just like in Venezuela, Lebanon, and other countries. You have to use other currencies or even gold. I saw in Venezuela a supermarket where you pay with grams of gold. Yeah, real gold. But anyway, the dollar was already up 143% from 01 to 06. The yen went from 30,000 in 2001 to 73 in December of 06. That's 143%. Well, the dollar, of course, right now, as I speak here, we're almost just $1 below 3,600. Yes, $3,000 have been added to the price. I think in yen, it's even crazier. We're way above 500,000. Yes, 500,000 yen per ounce. So the euro, well, that went from 277 to 472, up 70.4%. So the euro had been doing relatively well versus gold compared to the dollar. That's because there was a bear market in the dollar versus the other fiat currencies. The dollar index dropped a lot from 2000, 2001 to 2008. But notice that they're all going down versus gold, though. Swiss franc as well, 426 to 754, up about 77%. And then the British pound, 176. 176 pounds. And in December 2006, it was 316. Let's look at where we're now. And I'm speaking at 8:07 a.m. London time. Not that it matters that much in the scheme of things, but yes, gold is at 2,661 pounds. So I don't know what else I need to do to warn people about this. Of course, every individual has his or her own free will, and they should do whatever they think is right. I'm going to have someone on hopefully soon that wrote a really interesting book with Jim Sinclair about gold. It's called The Pocketbook of Gold, a manual for surviving in monetary mayhem and chaos. And that book is really popular, but they didn't publish many of them. But Mr. Carlin, who's coming on hopefully soon, he's told me they're going to publish that book again, and hopefully just in time for people to realize that things are getting more and more precarious for the fiat currencies. As for buying gold and silver, I've been asked this question since the beginning of this channel back in late 2015, and I've always told people, do your homework, due diligence. Do what I did. I searched where to buy gold back in 2002. That's how I did it, through trial and error. I try to find the most reputable dealer. But if you want to help the channel and keep this message coming out, then you can try my affiliates. In the UK, it's Gold Investments. I've dealt with them since '02. They've been in business since 1981. It's a family-run business. I can vouch for them. There's a link below in the description if you want to get in touch. And in the US, I'm affiliated with Andy Schectman and his company, Miles Franklin. Yeah, I can vouch for him and his father as well, who started the business back in 1989. So let's quickly look at where the markets are this morning. It's just gone after 8 a.m. London. There's some interesting news from Japan. The prime minister there expectedly resigned this weekend. And yes, it's just another symptom of this fiat currency meltdown. It looks like they need to choose a new leader for the LDP. And I was looking here, the probable winner is a lady called Sanae Takahashi. She would be the first woman prime minister. And she's like a disciple, not a disciple, but she holds Margaret Thatcher as an example. She's conservative. But it says here, I'm reading the article from Bloomberg, on economic policy, a Takahashi-led LDP would likely move toward continued monetary easing and looser fiscal spending, a move that may unsettle investors with concerns about Japan's fiscal status. So just what I was saying, they're going to keep printing. And I noticed today that the longer end of the Japanese government bond market, the yields went up. The 20 years up 3 basis points, the 30 years up 4.5 basis points, and the 40-year is up 6. So yeah, they're going to keep inflating people. So right now, actually, as I speak here, gold is making a new all-time high, or you could say the dollar is making a new all-time low. That's what it is. We're at 3,603, up 17 bucks. Yeah. And silver is back above 41. It's only up 5 cents. But it was kind of hammered a little bit overnight to 40.51. The stock market, they're up about, the indices, the futures are up about 0.2%. The currencies, with the exception of, yeah, I mean, the dollar has come back down a little bit, but it was quite strong against the yen on the back of this political situation there. Yeah, with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day and a very good start to the week. Take care. Bye.